Hello viewers, and welcome to today's episode of the Proverbs 31 Woman. This is a program that is geared towards raising men and women who will be solid in their marriages, stable in their relationships, and enjoy the gift of one another. So, and in today's episode, we'd like to just discuss the topic of emotional intelligence or emotional maturity. Now, when we talk about emotional intelligence, what do we mean? It's the need to be aware of your emotions. The need to be aware of your emotions. All of us, both the husbands and the wives, need to be aware of their emotions, because we are living in that house together and we are interacting, around issues of life together. So each one of us has a responsibility to understand yourself, understand your own emotion, then also strive to also understand your spouse's emotions. Emotional awareness can be defined as, being able to experience just a full range of emotions and be able also to express them appropriately. You're able to experience those emotions and also express them appropriately at the same time. There's an array of emotions that we go through, which include joy, anger, anxiety, different things, desire. As we live in our marriages, and so it is important that we're able to manage those things and get to understand your own, and now also be able to understand your spouse, so that you can be able to balance and help each other. Because it takes two to tango, Having emotional awareness and coping skills, it's important for us to be able to cope. Because when all that is going on and you're not able to cope, you find that the situation at home becomes, it's not habitable. So we should be able to have coping skills that will benefit us, even physically, because you realize sometimes when there's too much emotion going on, it affects even your health, it affects your productivity, it affects your joy, it affects the home environment. So it's important to have some coping skills that will benefit you physically, that will benefit you mentally, that will benefit your thought process in that home. Now, what does it also mean? Emotional awareness also means knowing when feelings are present in ourselves and in others. There's a phrase people use out here that so-and-so has caught feelings. So it's important for us to know when those feelings are present in ourselves and in others. It's important to be able to tell that, because then from there you begin to know how to cope and how to navigate your own feelings and your spouse's feelings. Emotional awareness is also just the capacity to be aware and to control. You are aware and you're able also to control your emotions and handle interpersonal relationship. Because why? I'm sure you know of a situation where, even probably this has happened to you as an individual, you are so caught up in an emotion, probably anger, until you can't talk, you can't manage yourself before people, you just walk out. You just storm out. And that shows some kind of immaturity. So it's important to be able to manage, be aware and manage and control, and be able to express yourself in a way that displays maturity. That is, you realize this aspect of emotions is very important in a relationship, either for yourself or even for others. Apart from just the home setting, the way you are built up emotionally really affects your other relationships outside your marriage. So it's very, very important. And a very high emotional intelligence helps you build relationships and reduce stress. If you have a high emotional intelligence, sometimes it's called EQ. If your EQ is high, you're able to build very solid relationships. You're able to reduce stress, really. You're able to reduce stress. If you're mature emotionally, you're able to reduce so much of the stress that would have put you down. You know, you're able to diffuse conflict very easily. If there's a conflict or a heated debate, because of your emotional intelligence, you're able to diffuse that conflict very easily without struggling much. So it's a very important thing. And you know, when you are emotionally intelligent, it gives you greater satisfaction in your relationships. You are able to get great satisfactions in your relationship, beginning with your marriage and then your outside relationships. So it's a very, very important thing. It helps you have solid and a healthy marriage when you are aware and when you are, because again, it's not something that happens in one day, it's something that grows. Emotional intelligence is something that grows. Emotional maturity is something that develops over time. It's not a one-day thing. So when you're able to develop that, when you're able to manage that, when you're able to be aware of those emotions and learn how to cope, you begin to build solid relationships. You begin to build healthy relationships, a healthy marriage and a solid marriage, whereby the two of you are managing and coping and are aware of how far you can go, and you're doing something about it, and it begins to create such great satisfaction. It begins to reduce the stresses you would experience, really, so much so, and you are able to enjoy that relationship. I want us to look at some of the skills. What are some of the skills then can we develop around this subject of emotional intelligence or emotional maturity? In other words, it's called EQ. What are some of the skills that I need to develop my emotional life, that I look like I'm intelligent in that area? Number one is self-awareness. Self-awareness is something we cannot, do without. As far as our emotional life is concerned, is just the beginning. You're able to recognize your own emotions. You're aware. Many times when we're relating, things happen. We get upset. You can be able to sit down and reflect on your own emotions. You can sit down and reflect on your own emotions. And most of the time, it's the negative emotions, because there's not much to reflect when you're joyous, when you're excited. Maybe you can think about what is making you excited or what is bringing that joy. But it's important that you're able to reflect on your own emotions, sitting down and say, what am I feeling now? How am I reacting? And when you're able to do that and now be able to cope, you will be able to move forward. Yeah. Sometimes when you sit down and talk to yourself, things kind of cool down. You're not overtaken, by your emotions. You're not overtaken and overrun by your emotions. So it's good to be self-aware. When things happen, sit down, reflect. What am I feeling? How am I reacting, or how am I going to react? Is it going to make the situation better? Are my reactions going to make the situation better, or am I escalating issues? And then from there on, you will be able to move forward. Number 2 skill is being able to manage your emotions. Self-awareness is our first thing, being aware, recognizing your emotion. And number 2, after I've recognized it, how do I manage? How do I manage that particular emotion? How do I manage myself? What to do is to look internally. Look internally. Self-regulation. In other words, you look internally and begin to regulate. For example, maybe your spouse belittled you. You felt belittled by your spouse. So, as I look inward, yes, I feel I have been belittled. The first reaction would be to shout, maybe to shout or throw some negative words. But You decide, I will not shout. We said it's something that you grow into. I will not shout. I feel belittled, I feel bad, and what I will just do at this moment because of what I'm feeling is just, I feel like shouting back at them. I will not shout. You sit down and you desire not to react because of, you know, when you feel, the feeling can create, begin to well up other emotions inside you, which will make you react, maybe into abuse or shouting. You decide, I will not shout, I will not react negatively, I will not yell, I will not belittle them back. That takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of maturity. You know, you begin to tell yourself that you'll be productive with your emotions, because you see all those emotions wanting to run out of your mind, things flying in your head, will make you worsen the situation. So you decide, I will manage the emotion. And in managing the emotion, I will not shout back, I will not yell at them, I will not belittle them back, but I will take in deep breaths, you know, and look inward and be able to be productive with my emotions, so that I will not, you know, when you're able to do the negative, what I'm saying, what when you end up with is double trouble. You had a situation that you would have responded to and also belittle them and throw it back at them, and then now when you have to sit down, it has to go two-way. You did, I did. But if you decide to manage that kind of emotion, the situation will be different. You will become more productive with your emotion. So it's very important to be it's a skill. That is a skill that all of us need in our marriages, to be self-aware, whereby I recognize my emotions. Number two, I have the ability to harness them. I have the ability to manage them. Number three thing, a skill that we need to grow into emotional intelligence is motivation. What does that mean? Directing your emotions towards a goal. I want to motivate myself in such a way that I will direct my emotions towards a goal. And as far as marriage is concerned, what is the goal? The goal is making my marriage healthier and being able to grow old together. Do you understand me? When you want to manage your emotion, when you want to create a skill that will cause you to grow emotionally mature, you will say, I want to direct my emotion. This anger I'm feeling, this bitterness I'm feeling, I want to direct it towards a goal. And for me, my goal would be, I want a healthy marriage. My goal is a healthy relationship. And my goal is to grow old together at the end of the day. So, what will I do? Don't harbor negative emotions. Because I have a goal. I'm striking a certain goal. I'm working towards a certain goal. My goal is that I will not harbor negative emotions, because if I harbor those negative emotions, my relationship will be weakened. And I want a strong relationship. I will not be able to grow old with him together, because, you know, brings a lot of hindrances. So give your spouse a chance to right the wrong. Because my goal is a healthy relationship. Yes, there was a wrong that was, a mistake that was made. I give them a chance, or they give me a chance to right my wrong. You know? And then don't justify or harbor the negative emotion. When we justify ourselves, then we create a problem on top of another. When we begin to justify, there's no way that instead of going down, it becomes a mountain. So we need to avoid justifying ourselves and harboring negative emotions. Tell yourself that you have no room in your heart to harbor negative emotions. So that now, as you release that, you are striving towards the goal of having a strong marriage, and also doing what? Desiring to grow old together, because you will have no place for the negative energy. And also another motivation would be, you give them a chance. You give your spouse a chance, just like you desire to be given a chance. That is a goal. Give them a chance. You also desire to be given a chance. Give them a chance. Yeah. Another skill we need to develop as far as emotional intelligence is concerned is something called empathy. And empathy is the ability to recognize emotions of others. Emotions, you empathize with the other person. You empathize with your friend. You empathize with your spouse. Understand what they feel, like you want to fit in their shoe. That is empathy. Put yourself in their shoe. Check also your tone of voice as you're doing this, because that is what will help you when you're talking about empathy. You will not desire somebody to shout at you, so you will check your tone, and that is very, very important. So we also need to develop what we call social skill, and this is the ability to manage the emotions of others. I can manage the emotions of my husband. He can manage my emotions. You know, that is a social skill that we need that will enhance our emotional intelligence. I can't control how you feel, but I can try to understand your perspective. You know, sometimes sometimes you can't control how your husband feels. You can't control how they feel, but you can try to understand their perspective. You can try to understand their perspective. Is that true? You know, you can't sometimes control how they feel, how your partner feels, but you can try to understand where they're coming from, so that you can, what that does is that it avoids that thing from happening again. When I understand their perspective, it avoids that thing from happening again. It's a level of care, you know, it's a level of concern for your spouse. It's a skill thing. It's something you have to develop. It doesn't just happen by chance. It is something that you have to really work towards developing. You can learn the skill and become better as you go on. Like I said earlier, this is something that really you work on every day, every month, every year. God gives you together. There are certain things that must seem to mature and grow in your life. There are certain things that must be seen to change and be different for the better, because we have one goal, to build a strong relationship, to establish a strong marriage where both of you are able to enjoy it and be satisfied with each other. You use words or questions that will enable you find solutions. Sometimes, you know, we use words and questions that destroy instead of building. Use those words and those questions that you know are going to help you find solutions, are going to help you make some headway, you know, instead of being confused and staying in the heart of what has happened. So show interest in what your partner feels. Sometimes you don't do that. You don't show interest in what they feel. You don't care. You throw your eyes. Apologize when you need to. Very, very important. That is a social skill. Just being able to say sorry. Some people find it very difficult. Some people struggle with that word, I am sorry, that I apologize. People struggle with it. You want to justify yourself and seem to be like on the right, you know. Learn to apologize. Talk about that thing together. Or if you're not able to talk about it together, it's important that you find a mentoring couple that can help you walk together this journey, can help you, direct you and guide you in some of these matters. So I was saying some of the emotions that we go through could be admiration, appreciation, anger, anxiety, boredom sometimes, yeah, calmness. Sometimes you find that sometimes you're just calm. Sometimes confusion. Do you know sometimes confusion comes in a marriage, Disgust. Those are emotions. Excitement, fear, joy, sometimes awkwardness. Yeah, those are some of the things, and that's what we are talking about. Being able to be aware of all these things and learning how to cope, so that we can build a strong marriage, and enjoy our relationship together as husband and wife. So I'd like to just because many times, explain something here. Many times we find that our emotions are stronger than our mind. I want us to just talk about how to make our mind stronger than our emotions. My mind should be always stronger than my emotion, because that will make me level-headed. That will make me sober. You know? Number one, for my mind to be stronger than my emotion, because this also helps in contributing into the emotional intelligence that we are trusting God for. I should be able to differentiate between problem solving and ruminating. Ruminating is just that deep thinking. You just sat there and sink deep into thoughts that sometimes are destructive. So I should be able to differentiate between ruminating and problem solving. Now, how do I differentiate between these two? Number one, I have to think about strategies that would help me overcome any obstacle. Yeah? Think about, for my mind to be stronger than my emotion, I have to think about some strategies. I'm not just thinking about thoughts that drive me up and down and take me deeper into the situation and make it worse. So for me to avoid that, I have to think about some strategies that will help me overcome any obstacle, you know, that I'll be able to tolerate the pain. You know, you can tolerate and still be level-headed and not let it tear you down. Yeah? I need to know. Wherever you find yourself sitting, by the way, sitting down and you're thinking about something over a long period of time, you should be able to ask yourself, am I just thinking, or am I looking for a solution? Because if I'm just thinking, sometimes the thoughts take us off the road. But if I'm thinking about it in a way that I have to find a solution, this thing must never happen again, then you're on the right track. Then your emotions will not overtake your mind. Your mind will be strong enough to help you manage and harness that emotion and be able to express yourself better. Number two, we can talk about giving yourself the same advice you would give your husband or you give your friend. You know, the way you talk to yourself, if you're like most people, then there's a good chance that many times you overly criticize yourself. People never criticize themselves. People never criticize themselves. Maybe, but sometimes you just find yourself criticizing the other person. So what am I saying? For me to have a strong mind, I have to learn how to give myself the same advice I would give somebody else. And in this case, I'm saying people don't always criticize themselves. So that means I will not criticize my partner. I will not beat him up because I never beat up myself. I will not magnify their mistakes because you never magnify your mistakes, so that you don't get drawn down. You have some compassion, some self-compassion. That is what you should be able to show the other person, you know. And that is linked to our psychological well-being and our health. So when you make it a habit to speak to yourself the same way you would speak to your partner, then you find that your mind is stronger. Your emotions don't overrun you. Your emotions don't overrun you at all. Another thing that will help us develop a strong mind is labeling the emotion. You know, labeling the emotion? Most people have an aversion to just talking about or showing feelings. And as a result, they become distracted. You know, you just show your feelings, they become distracted from their feelings, which makes it hard for them to even recognize how they felt at any given moment. For example, many times adults will do this. Instead of saying I feel sad, they wouldn't say I feel sad. Very few people would do that. You say maybe I felt a lump in my throat, or I felt just dancing tears, or my eyes welling up with water. Or maybe if you're anxious or you're nervous, you won't say I'm anxious. Sometimes people say, they use a different word and say, oh, it's like I had butterflies, you know, in my stomach. I don't know, that sounds gisty. So what am I saying? If you learn to label your emotion and, you know, label it and face it, that helps you. that helps you really in this work of learning to be emotionally intelligent. If you're able to label that, it will help you. Label those emotions so that they'll help you. They will help you how you make they will affect your decisions. When you label the emotion, it helps you in how you in your decision making process, really. Yeah, because you have called it out, you have labeled it. Whether you're feeling sad about something, whatever it is, whether you're feeling sad about whatever it is, even in your home, if you don't label it and manage that emotion, that thing will spill even into your office. That emotion will spill even into your other relationships. So it's important to just be able to label that emotion. We also need to balance our emotions with logic in a bid to strengthen our mind over our emotion. So whether you're faced with that tough financial decision, whatever it is, or you're experiencing a family dilemma, you will make your best decisions. Whether you're able to balance your emotions when you're able to balance your emotions with the logic. You know, whatever you're experiencing, if it's a dilemma at home or your financial situation, you are able to balance that with the logic. It's very important. When emotions run high, take steps to just increase your rational thinking. You know, think rationally. Yeah, I've come to realize when my mind is strong, my emotions will not overrun me. When my mind is strong, just think about it. When your mind is strong, when you're able to think rationally, your emotions are put under check. Your emotions are put under check. And this is a challenge for all of us. Because many times, because you're not able to put them under check, you find that your emotions just overrun you. Your mind is not strong enough to harness that, to put it under control. So it's important. So the best way to balance out your emotions is to create a list of the pros and the cons of your choices. What the choices I'm making, what are the pros? Even as I'm going through this emotion, what are the cons? Very important. And like I said, you know, this is something you have to be intentional about. Build and grow over time. Build and grow over time. Knowing that it is what you do that will bless your marriage. It is what you do with yourself that will enhance that relationship. And the sooner you learn the correct building blocks, the better for you, because you're the beneficiary of those kinds of decisions that you make as far as your marriage relationship is concerned. So may the Lord help us be able to just do those things that will help benefit us, because you're the ones who are the who feel it as we are in those homes, that will do the things that benefit us rather than put us down. Another thing that we need to develop is just having some gratitude. When you are thankful, you know, gratitude has been linked to a number of physical, psychological benefits. Yani being thankful, including happiness. Grateful people are always happier people. Have you ever realized that? When you're grateful, you're always happy. But if you're sulking, you're never appreciative of anything, you're never grateful, even in your face it shows. But grateful people are always happy. What are you grateful for in that home, in that marriage? Are you grateful for anything? Or your list is just full of bad things, nothing good to talk about? Grateful people are always happy people. And when you learn to be grateful, you make your mind stronger than your emotion. You know, make it a habit. Talk about what you're grateful for occasionally. Even if you're able to write some journal, grateful journal. Are there things that you're grateful for? Are there things in your life that you're thanking God for? Or you just have a list of negative things? So when you're able to be grateful, that also helps you. As far as your mind is concerned, your mind is able to grow, be stronger than those emotions that can easily overtake you. So it's important. Train your brain to look for the good in your life. Train your brain, by the way. It's something you can do. Train it to look for the good in life. It could be the simplest things, you know, that will boost your well-being. It could be the simplest things. When you learn to be appreciative of them, it will boost your well-being. Very, very important. The conversations you have with yourself have a profound effect in your life. There are many times you sit down either as a man or a woman, and you have conversations with yourself. They are very profound. Those things are very, very important. If you want to reach your greatest potential, it's important to build your mental muscle. It's called a mental muscle, this here. If you want to reach your greatest potential, build your mental muscle. You will be able to do that a lot. Exercise your brain every day, and over time you will just find that it is flowing. You're used to all that thing. Now, how do you overcome emotional weakness? Because we all at some point have those kinds of things. How do we overcome emotional weakness? Number one, for me, breathing exercises does me well. It's very, very important. Breathing exercises. Just sit on a chair or sit on your bed, take in deep breaths, like even for 5 minutes. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. When you breathe in fresh air and you exhale the negative energy. You exhale the negative emotion. And when you're able to do that, you find yourself better. You find that you have cleared your head to some point. So for you to be able to overcome some of the emotional weakness, when you're feeling like things are boiling and they want to spill over, just go sit somewhere. Do some breathing exercises. In and out. Breathe in and out. In fresh air and out the negative energy. And over time, you find that helps you a lot. You don't feel that you have a heavy chest after doing those exercises. And then that promotes, emotional strength. That promotes your emotional maturity. Because then you will have no negative words. You will not be shouting. You will not be yelling. You will not be, doing all those things. Because your heart has been able to offload some of the burden. Another thing for you to overcome emotional weakness is going for walks. Go for a nature walk. Just go out there, look at the greenery, take a breath. As you walk, you are relieving. I said earlier you should label the emotion. So whatever emotion it is, as you walk, as you take that walk, allow it to be released into the atmosphere. That will help make you stronger than you are. You will not be weak, so that you can easily shout, you can easily yell, you can easily belittle your partner and do all those negative things. Very important. And this is something you have to practice that helps you. Well, another thing that I know helps some people is being able to just journal your feelings, being able to write down some things, situation. It helps in some other people to just relive the moments. Yeah. We can look at some of the signs that you would want to maybe be aware of that will show somebody is not mature emotionally. Then from there we'll look then what do we do about that? How do we enhance that in our lives? So number one, we can say inability of expressing emotions. There are some people who are not able to express emotions at all, and that is not a good thing. You might think it's a strong thing, it's a strong trait, but it's not. That shows emotional immaturity, because it shows avoidance. You're not in contact with your own feelings at any cost. You're avoiding. And in that avoidance, you're not helping with the situation. So when you're not able to express your feelings, find someone where you can be able to do that. And people can consider you emotionally immature if it is difficult to be vulnerable enough. It's good sometimes to be vulnerable to some extent. If you're not able to express your feelings or admit any negative experience, there are people who never admit. Unakaa tu ngumu, you makazia tu. It's not a show of might. When you're not able to just be vulnerable enough and express your feelings and admit some negative experience, this is life, and life happens. Find a place to be able to just express yourself, because that will enhance your emotional maturity or my emotional intelligence, you know. Because why? Emotional maturity manifests, immaturity manifests in different situations. But learning how you might show this trait helps you to identify specific habits and to develop the skills to improve. You're able to identify some specific habits, and then you want to look at what skills do I need to improve this habit, what skill do I need to improve this habit. This habit I've been hanging in here for long, I'm tired, I want to improve my life, I want to improve this situation, I'm tired of the up and down. You have to be to be vulnerable. You have to admit some things so that now you can look at what specific habits do you develop to take care of some of those negative experiences. Another sign for immaturity, as far as intelligence is concerned, is what? Blaming others. You know, somebody has gone wrong, and your first instinct is to blame. Even if you are the one, you will blame your partner. Very, very, it's out of order, really. Sometimes it's just automatic. Not to hold yourself. It's an automatic thought for some people, not to hold themselves accountable for their own actions, even when you know it is your fault. You just don't want to hold yourself accountable. You feel comfortable blaming others, throwing it onto the others. It's a sign of immaturity. It's a sign of immaturity. Maturity would be taking responsibility and being accountable, so that from there you can change, so that then tomorrow you will not experience the same thing. But you see, if you're always blaming others, then that is the order of the day. Because you don't feel anything, you're not remorseful, you're not accountable, you don't look inward, you just want to throw it on your partner. Then that is a lifestyle you will live. But if you learn how to be accountable, learn how to be responsible, learn when something goes wrong, you can speak to yourself and what desire to change, then you will stop blaming others. And when accountability checks in, maturity also checks in. So be able to check that aspect, so that when you're on the wrong, you admit, apologize, correct it, get a habit that will help you go around it. Then now you find yourself growing in the right direction and living a little bit more happier. Another thing that is very important that I find in people is not asking for help. You know, you are in a situation that needs help, but you just walk like there's nothing happening. You assume everything. When you're not able to ask for help, you put a question mark on your head. It might indicate immaturity. If you don't use, and even asking for help, definitely you look for where to, you don't go looking for help all over the place. There are specific places or specific people that will be helpful to you. So get help when you need help. Don't die with a situation, and yet there will be help coming your way if you went seeking for it. Don't die with a situation. You know, it might indicate immaturity. If you don't use your communication skills, you know, to ask for help, even when you need it most, it doesn't, you're not what do people say? Is it thinking you're hardened or you can handle it? There are times you can't handle it. There are times you need somebody else to help you handle it. And it would come out better than if you're just doing it alone. Or you're too afraid or seemingly insecure or weak, so you refrain from asking a co-worker for guidance, or even your wife or your husband. You can't ask, acknowledging that you have a burnout or you need help in this or the other. So please learn to ask for help when you need it. It's not a sign of weakness, but instead is a sign of maturity. If I can find help to in whatever situation, it shows that I don't feel bad, or I don't feel weak to be vulnerable or seek for help. I actually become better. You get help to know how to handle it, so that next time when you have that situation or something different or something similar, you're okay. You learned some skill in the past. You earned some wisdom in the past that is informing your present decision. And that is growth. And that is maturity. And that is intelligence as far as our emotions are concerned. Another thing that can show that we are not mature in this area is when we don't respond well to stress. There are some people, stress just does them in. Stress just can make them sick, literally. So when you're not able to handle stress, and that's why we are talking about emotional intelligence, because then you need to grow it so that we have some muscle to handle stress when it comes, by acquiring certain skills, by having a certain knowledge, by working with somebody, a mentoring couple to help you along the way. Then you're able to grow and become better. Yeah. For some people, if they had a stressful day, everybody will know it. Everybody, right from the gate man, they will know here things are not okay, things are thick. So when that is not a good thing. If you become easily upset with others, you're just easily cranky, anything small just cracks you up. If you become easily upset, it's likely because you keep repressing emotions. So then, because you just keep on repressing, anything small added on top just causes you to, you can have outbursts. So, and this leads to anxiety, poor sleep. You will not sleep well. If you are under stress, you go to bed, you need to sleep, you're tired. Yes, you need this sleep so badly, but it's not coming. You have migraines. Some people, when they are stressed, they can't even take care of their hygiene. So it's important that you are able to manage stress well. You're able to respond to stress well. And that way, that shows emotional intelligence. That shows emotional maturity. When I'm able to handle stress well, I might be going through stress, but it is maybe somebody very close to me is the one that can detect it. Not anybody on the street. They can tell, even maybe you're sitting next to somebody in a matatu and they can tell this person is not okay. And then they are strangers. So your ability to manage stress is very important as far as your maturity emotionally is concerned. So find a place. Don't be repressing your emotions, because when you continue repressing them, then anything else being added onto that causes you to have an outburst. Causes you to get very upset very easily because of those repressed emotions. So may the Lord help us as women, that we will not be repressing our emotions, that we get upset at any slightest move, or even as husbands, that create room for dialogue, create room for fellowship, where then all these emotions can be shared, and then I'm not easily upset because there's nothing I'm hiding, there's nothing I'm suppressing. I have joy. When I go to bed, I can sleep. I can work and be productive. I can work and be effective. I don't have migraines because of my situation of stress. So the Lord help us, because that is something also that affects us in our home. Even when you have stress between yourself as husband and wife, find room to sit down and fellowship. Find room to sit down and talk to one another. That there will not be unresolved issues in your marriage and in your life that causes you to be cranky all the time. You can talk to one another cordially. You're always angry even when you're talking. It's because you have so many emotions, so much bottled up, that there's no room, for talk, and that becomes very unhealthy. Now, how do you improve emotional intelligence? How can we in our marriages improve emotional intelligence or emotional maturity? How can we go about this to make us better wives or better husbands? Now, improving your emotional maturity is a significant journey that requires you to be self-aware. Something you really have to be self-aware of and intentional in building and in growing. Something that you have really to put out there. Confronting your emotions that you have repressed is demanding. It's demanding. You might feel overwhelmed sometimes, but that is okay. Remember to rest as you strive towards personal growth is very important. So what are some of the tips that will help us improve ourselves in this way of emotional maturity? Is number one, developing a growth mindset. This is crucial when you are setting and working towards goals. A growth mindset. A growth mindset. I have a growth mindset. I'm here, I'm working on my emotional intelligence. I'm working on my emotional maturity. So I will have a growth mindset. You know, I will want to improve every day. I did this yesterday, maybe it did not work. I did this and it went so well. So I want to, you know, continue in that and all that. Focus on continuous self-improvement. I'll have a growth mindset. I want to focus on continuous growth improvement. What are those things we've been doing together with my husband or together with my wife that has promoted self-improvement? What are those things? Let me continue in those things. Let me continue in those things. You know, continue in those things that are for self-improvement and for growth, rather than nitpicking on failures and shortcomings. That I'm always pointing out your wrongs, that I'm always pointing out your failures, that I'm always telling you of how you're not able to do or you know do this or the other. I keep that aside, and you know, I focus on those things that have been promoting us, helping us grow, and have been improving our lives. I will not just be nitpicking on those negative ones, on those vices for my husband or for your wife. But instead, I want to focus on those other better things. I will not look at your shortcomings. I will not look at your failures. I will want to have a growth mindset. That promotes emotional intelligence. That promotes emotional maturity. When I'm mature, I will focus on growth rather than shortcomings. Number 2 is set healthy boundaries. I want to grow mature and be stable in my emotional health. I will set healthy boundaries. Set healthy boundaries that will keep your well-being in mind and make you feel safe. You know, remaining firm with these boundaries is a sign of emotional maturity, because you are respecting your emotions by standing for yourself. Some people don't know how to stand for themselves. Anything will come and anything will go. Anything can come and just pass. You not have stand up for yourself, and there are no boundaries. It's important to set boundaries, and you decide. For example, we will not shout at each other. We will not let the sun go down before we discuss whatever it is. And even if it's late, after we discuss and maybe we didn't exhaust, but at least we will not go to bed angry. Set healthy boundaries. You know, this is the constitution for the house. When it comes to finances, on your side, this is what we'll do. When it comes to finances on my side, this is what we'll do. Set some boundaries that will help govern your relationship. Yeah, that will help govern you and keep you in check. That will promote, because if you don't have boundaries, you will get annoyed that they did this, but you didn't. There was no boundary. So it's like it's a free play field. You can throw the ball this or the other direction. Set some boundaries so that you are not offended and they are not offended, because you are working within a certain boundary that is well agreed upon by both of you. Then that gives you some guidance, that gives you some headway, that gives you some direction. There is no room for getting angry, just anyhowly. But we are working within a certain set boundary, and we are respecting that same boundary. Another aspect is just being able to understand your emotions. And this understanding of emotions is very, very important. Do you see, an individual who doesn't understand the emotions, they're at a bad place. If I can't understand my emotions, and then also being able to understand your spouse's emotions, very, very important. When I understand my emotions, I am moving towards maturity. Because people who don't understand the emotions throw them anyhow, carelessly. They don't care. Yeah, and it looks bad on them. So it is very important that you understand yourself emotionally. To be emotionally intelligent, you need to understand your emotions. Very, 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 very important. Very, very important. That is easier said than done, by the way, because it is work. Vulnerability sometimes is scary. But recognize emotions. When you're able to recognize your emotions, it helps you to handle them more maturely. To handle what kind of a person, what triggers me. That is, understanding yourself. What triggers me? So because you know what that triggers you, you want to behave yourself. You want to know how to navigate so that you will not move towards your trigger. That is being mature. That is being mature. Yeah. When you understand what makes you angry, what makes you sad, what makes you excited, you can use that for your own advantage instead. You can use that for your own advantage. But if you don't understand, then it becomes complicated. Ask yourself, what makes you mad? What makes you uncomfortable? When you are able to know that, then you are able to navigate yourself in the right direction. Very, very important. Another thing towards emotional maturity is owning your mistakes. Own your mistakes. Own your mistakes. You will make mistakes from time to time, but it's how you handle those mistakes and take responsibility that matters most. How you handle your mistakes, how do you take responsibility concerning those mistakes matters a lot. Matters a lot. Matters a lot. And when you're able to do that, you're striving towards maturity. You're striving towards emotional maturity. Next time you make a mistake, when you know that, next time when you make a mistake, apologize for your error without making excuses, for yourself. Apologize for your error. Don't make any mistakes. Don't make any excuses, sorry. Own your mistakes. Don't make excuses. Own your mistakes. Don't make excuses. Next time you make them, just view every mistake as a learning opportunity. Whatever mistake umefanya, let it be a learning opportunity to expand your skills and learn more about yourself, so that tomorrow you're a better person, so that tomorrow you're able to respond better. You're able to respond differently towards growth. And the last thing is to say, find a role model. Because sometimes it's difficult to just be the two of you in that house talking to one another. Maybe you don't understand each other. Maybe you don't get each other's perspective. But when you get a third party, somebody who respects marriage and somebody you guys have high regard for, because sometimes it's not easy to listen to somebody you have no regard for. Do you know that? If you have no regard for anybody, if you have no regard for that mentor, you can't listen to them. You can't give them a hearing ear. You can't obey even whatever guidance or whatever decisions they are helping you with. You will just trash that. So find a role model to help you in this journey. Consider a loved one, a colleague, a trusted friend to be your role model. Watch as they handle, also just watching them handle their situation will help you. As you watch them handle their situation, that will help you. Because you learn by observation. It could give you insight into what habits to form, and it will inspire you in working to develop your maturity. Very, very important. I would like to make a conclusion and say that putting in work to learn how to improve your emotional intelligence is tough. Putting in work, it's tough. And being emotionally mature doesn't happen once you reach a certain age. No. You can't say, because now I am at 50 or I'm at 45, now I'm emotionally mature. No, that's not what happens. It doesn't happen because you have reached a certain age. It's work in progress. Emotional maturity is work in progress. So don't beat yourself so hard. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself so harshly. It's work in progress. It's work in progress. Maturity emotionally is work in progress. It's something to work on daily. Now that you understand what emotional intelligence means, you can learn to stop bottling up your feelings, and fearing vulnerability. Don't fear to be vulnerable. Don't continue to bottle up the feelings, because they harm you. Even physically, you will not be able to sleep well. You will not be able to be productive even at your place of work. It will affect your health. And yet you can just avoid all that by by speaking and sharing your emotion. Emotional intelligence helps you communicate better with others. You see, it will help you communicate better with your friends, with your married partner. It will help you have healthier relationships, and you're able to express yourself more clearly because there's no bottled feelings you have at all. Your upbringing might have made you fear expressing emotions and maybe thinking it's a bad thing, and that will lead you to much more conflict, but it is not. Yeah, it's good to share so that you can diffuse conflicts very easily. So moving forward, know to never be ashamed of how you feel. It's very important. Be self-aware. Never be ashamed of how you feel. Label that emotion so that you know how to deal with it, and be very intentional about that. And at the same time, your emotions are valid, and they are more and the more mature and the greater it is when you have the self-acceptance. And this is a journey that will be tough, but it's doable. At first it seems tough, but once you get on the journey, it's easier. It gets easier, it gets better, and it's worth the investment. It gets easier, it gets better once you get at it, and it's worth the investment because you begin to reap the benefits. So that is I put a stop there to this conversation, and just invite you for our monthly meeting. We have a ladies monthly meeting every third Saturday of the month at Agro House, starting at 9 a.m. So you're all welcome. We continue to learn and share together concerning different biblical principles. We have a Radical Kesha this coming August on 11th at KICC. I want to extend my invite to all of us. We have a Move On Convention, which is an annual meeting for Christ Co-workers Fellowship. I want to extend our welcome for those of us who are not members of Crisco. You are invited to Move On Convention starting 17th to 20th August at the Nyayo Stadium from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For those of us who are single, we have a singles retreat from the 9th September 2023. You are welcome, and this will be at the CCC. It's a railway club just next to Huru Park. You are welcome. And for the married couples, this is a place to continue with these kinds of engagement. We are going to have a married couples retreat on the 16th September in Karen, at Korat in Karen, and you're all welcome. I'm sure you will look out for the announcements for more details. And then I just want to invite us for Sunday services. If you have nowhere to fellowship, we meet every Sunday at the KICC, Kenyatta International Conference Center, for our Sunday services from 9 a.m. So you're all welcome, and may the Lord bless you. So let's take time and pray as we wrap up today's telecast. Father, in the name of Jesus, we bless you and we give you glory for who you are to us. We thank you for every married couple that has watched this telecast. We thank you for every single person that has listened in, and for all of us at our different levels. I ask, oh God, that you shall help us manage our emotions. You shall help us begin to grow in maturity in these aspects, in the name of Jesus. Your word says you are touched by infirmities. Oh God, you're able to heal us. Even emotionally, you're able to make us grow and be stable as wives, as husbands, oh my Father, as friends, in the name of Jesus. I pray for every challenge that we have, for everything that could be struggling with as individuals, oh God, and as couples. Father, you shall give us the grace and the wisdom, even as we have shared, oh God, concerning some of the skills and the aspects of management in these areas, oh God, of our emotion, that you shall help us overcome. You shall help us overcome. You shall help us grow and become better. And that, Lord God Almighty, that will bring great satisfaction to our relationships and even to physical and psychological health. And so I pray for every person represented here and those that are listening in, that if there be any issues that we are standing in need of as far as our emotional life is concerned, our emotional maturity is concerned, may you hear us and may you help us from today. As we apply some of these principles, may we find help in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I bless you for every married couple, oh my Father. Continue to increase us. Continue to bless them, oh my Father. Continue to show yourself strong even in their family, oh God. I bless you for every single person watching in. Lord, as they continue to glean and get wiser even from some of these aspects, oh God, that are shared, may you help them even when their time comes. They will be better people. We thank you and we bless you. Cover our homes with the blood of Jesus. Pray you shall continue to help us, oh God, even as we grow together, that our goal shall be to have a strong marriage. Our goal shall be to grow all together and love each other even as we raise our children. To this end, we want just to bless you, give you all the glory, all the honor, all the power, and all the majesty. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. See you next time. God bless you.